Hello everyone and welcome into our latest live broadcast. It is Tuesday, the 23rd of December, 2025. We're just 2 days away from the big day. Hope everybody's all ready for that. And I'm ready for 2026, I'll tell you that. Also, today we have a review I've been looking forward to for some time with a little bit of trepidation. And I'll explain more about that. But clearly, you can clearly see from the box in front of me, still shrink wrapped. We're going to do our very first unboxing and very first genuine reaction to testing and evaluating the new Comet KVM Pro from GLiNet. Now, of all the KVMs you've seen me review, from the Nano KVM, the Nano KVM Pro, Nano KVM Lite, Pico KVM, Jet KVM, and the original Comet KVM, you almost never see me use this. It is not ideal for me, and my trepidation is that this will be the same, more of the same, but I hope I'm wrong. In the meantime, I own like 3 or 4 of every single KVM, but I only own one of these, and I only ordered one of these because I got a feeling they're going to continue what they did here over here, and if so, this won't be very valuable to me. But I'm genuinely interested and curious. And just because it doesn't meet my needs, if that's the case, how would I know? I have to try it first. So we might be in for an interesting video today with regards to my expression. I'm either going to be like, yeah, that's what I thought, or wow, this is way better. And I'm hoping for wow, this is way better than I was expecting. But let's not hold our breath. Now, as you can see from the packaging, we have a big design difference here. This KVM, this new one, was a Kickstarter, and it's not available for sale yet. So we're getting an early product. This was ordered back in September. It took until just a couple days ago for us to receive it. And they did announce that. They said, hey, if you order this now in September, don't expect anything till mid-December. That's exactly what they did. They followed through with that promise. And they're already available for pre-order to ship next month, because the Kickstarter's all over with. They're just fulfilling all the Kickstarter pre-orders first, all the backers, if you will. And then if you go to their website where we have links to this product, if you want to order one, you can pre-order it now and it'll ship next month. So what I can tell you right out of the gate is look at the size of the difference in the boxes. This is the original Comet. This is the Comet Pro. This one's $80. This one's $160. This one is only LAN, wired LAN. This one's LAN or wireless LAN. This one has no video pass-through. This one does. This one does 1080. This one does 4K. So they have doubled in size, doubled in price, and doubled in a lot of the functionality, which may have absolutely zero value to you. If you don't use Wi-Fi and you don't need 4K and you don't need video pass-through, then this would be a waste of money for you. You'd be better off buying this one or some other under $100 KVM. Now, that being said, this is still an early product, and we do expect it to be a little rough around the edges software-wise. And just as this unit has gotten a lot better with regards to its software, they've been updating it regularly, thankfully, and it does perform admirably. But I'll tell you more about why I don't use it. In the meantime, let me say hello to everybody joining us today, and thank you guys for joining us. And a thank you to Mark Gaines for the Amazon gift card prior to the show, and also to our good friend Buster, Peter Laycock, also an Amazon gift card prior to the show. Instead of sending the super chats, because YouTube takes 30% of that super chat money and makes us wait 30 to 60 days before they'll pass it off to us, the Amazon gift cards have zero fee. We get 100% of the money, and we get it within minutes. We don't wait months for it. So we appreciate that thoughtfulness and can't thank you enough. Also to all the members, it's with membership money that this is paid for. We also have a Ricoh NAS that was about $850, $900 that we pre-ordered on Kickstarter that just came in. And once again, that was paid for with membership money and contributions from our viewers that make these videos possible. You're watching a non-sponsored channel. However, we do have a partner that we like to share with you, and that is VIP-URCDKEYs. The reason there is this exception is almost everybody that watches this channel is a Windows user and will need a valid Windows license, or the second thing you need is a Microsoft Office license. That's the second most common request. And as a PC builder and a business owner, I can't sell this stuff to my customers and at a competitive price by paying Microsoft's suggested retail price. That laughed me right out of the building. So I need to be more competitive with Dell and HP and all the other system builders out there. And not all system builders will sell legitimate copies of Windows. I have to be on the up and up because I want to be in business, you know, for the rest of my life. I don't want to have to change careers. So I had to do the research and find a legitimate key seller that sold the keys at a reasonable price, that also offered some peace of mind, some backup, if you will, if anything were to go wrong, that they're going to have my back. This is not an easy task, and I challenge any of you to find it. I'm not saying you can't find a product key online that's cheap, that'll work, but you won't know until you roll the dice and find out. And it's not a question of, well, first of all, will it work or will it not work? Sometimes it's a question of, do you have to call Microsoft? Do you have to jump through hoops? Did you get Windows Pro that you paid for, or did you get Windows Pro Workstation or Enterprise that you're not supposed to have? So stuff like that where products are misrepresented. When you call for help, do they even try to help you? And does that matter to you? Because I'm working at a larger scale and I'm selling licenses. I wouldn't say as much as I used to, but certainly with all the builds, and anytime somebody needs a new Microsoft Office, they come to me, I save them money, I get them a legitimate legal license key, and generally the people that do what I do, we keep our vendors to ourselves. Otherwise, what would stop you from competing against me using my very same vendors? But I don't care. You are the supporters of this channel, and I want to make sure that if you don't want to risk paying too little and getting worked over, paying too much and getting worked over, that you use the same legitimate source I use, and there's no commission in it for me. In fact, I'm going to pay the same price you pay after you enter the coupon code at their website, and that's just coupon code of Carey. Now again, I'm making some assumptions that you want to save money. I'm making an assumption you don't want a stolen or pirated key, and I'm making an assumption that you would take any discount you could get, but you know, maybe I'm wrong about you. I don't think so. But if we look at their website here, you see we've got links for this stuff in the video notes below the video, and it's really super easy to you just put in an email account and username, and you're going to want that for your benefit, not for their benefit. It's for you, because when you make the purchase, you want it done securely. When you make the purchase, you need a receipt. When you make the purchase, in 6 months from now, you may need to go back and look at what you bought. That's all kept on record, just like Amazon or Newegg or Best Buy or anywhere else you order from online. That all your previous purchase history is kept under your account for your benefit in case you need to go back for those records. This company does provide 6 months of support after you buy the key. That's very generous when you consider the costs involved here. They're not making a whole lot of money at this. So it's pretty rare to find a company that will offer any support at these prices for obvious reasons. And of course, we here stand behind it 100%. So if should anything occur that their support doesn't help you with, just reach out to us directly. And I'm happy to say that's maybe happened 3 times in the history of the last 3 years that we've been doing this with, working with these folks. And we're very confident about recommending them. And 2 out of those 3 complaints were users who bought the wrong product and they were trying to return it, and that's suspicious as heck, because how do we know they didn't use it, right? This is exactly what a scammer does. It doesn't make you a scammer, but it's a big red flag. And so with our assistance, we're able to work through that stuff. You don't want to be scammed. They don't want to be scammed. And in such a case where something like that would occur, where you're doing something unusual that's a red flag, and you're not getting the response you thought you were going to get, and you don't understand why, not only will I explain it to you, but I'll also make it right. And I can say that because I'm very confident the likelihood of that happening to you is next to 0. So take that for whatever it's worth. If you need a Windows 10 or 11 product key, if you need a Microsoft Office key, I can't stress enough that you get peace of mind, you buy from a legitimate key seller, and don't pay too much for it. And that's what we're doing here. As I mentioned, I'm paying the same price. So I'm just extending my vendor to you. And I cannot stress, nobody in this industry does this. I'm the only one, as far as I know. As far as I know, and if I'm wrong, let me know anybody else who does this, that shares They run a business, and they're going to share with you who they're buying their parts from that you could actually buy from. Because there are big distributors that'll sell to you if you want to buy a crate. But if you're just buying one, a lot of big distributors, most won't deal with end users. So it's too small of a quantity, they can't be bothered. It's not worth their time. But in this case, this company here does both. They'll sell it in bulk, they'll sell it to individuals, and it's all real, legit. And it's there if you need it. It's not a hard sell. Again, I don't make more or less money. Whether you choose to buy it or you don't, I'm just putting that out there in the hopes that it'll help you. If it helps you, it also helps them. It helps, you know, our ability of influence to this key seller that they say, hey, you know what? We want to continue to support this guy's channel and his community because they support us. This whole thing goes as a win-win-win. Nobody should be losing, not me, not them, not you. That's all it's about. All right. I was saying hello to everybody in the chat, and I interrupted myself. Hobo Naylor just became a supporter. Welcome into the tech support. Actually, it shows he's been a supporter for over 2 months. So, well, welcome in. Assuming it's a he. Most of us are he's here, and I don't know why, but that's how it is. Welcome into our tech club. We're glad to have you as a member. Thank you for supporting us. Isaiah says hello. Jonathan Fells says hello. Gulu8899 with a $9.99 super chat. Thank you, Gulu. Rick Lakes, our friend from Minnesota, joins us and says hello. And there's Mark Gaines and our friend Buster. Mark Gaines in Northern Ireland. Buster in Scotland says hello, everyone in the chat. The temperature in Bonnie, Scotland, in Edinburgh. Right now it's 43 degrees Fahrenheit, 6.1 degrees Celsius. It's a lot colder there than it is here. It's 78, I think, today. Let's see. Luke Greenia from Vermont says hello. There's Eddie Casanova joining us, saying hello from a cold, Luke Greenia from a cold Vermont. Mark Baggett joins us, says Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Back at you, my friend. Sean Skinner joins us, says hello. Ben Laird joins us from Scotland and says hello. Thomas MacT says he's not feeling well today. Oh, I'm sorry, Thomas. Well, maybe we can just distract you for the next 90 minutes or so, 2 hours. Who am I kidding? It'll be 2 hours. We're glad you're here with us. Martin Postema joins us, wishing everybody Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Gentleman 2000 and John Rogers saying hello. Dustin Fuller and Matthew Burden are joining us. Matthew says, I just got my Comet Pro yesterday and I'm looking forward to setting it up. Perfect timing. Excellent. Craig Dollar saying Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. Says he's finally out of the hospital now. That's a great way to start the new year. I think that's great. Home for the holidays. John Williams joins us and says hello. Themo Partnered says hello. Glad to see you in the YouTube live stream. I can only stay for a short time. I got to deal with a car problem with a customer's car. Hey, I hope you're making some money. It's always the best excuse to say I couldn't be at the live show. I had to go make some money. I'm behind you 100% on that, man. You absolutely fully excused. Like that's a thing. Dazzle555 says hello. Welcome in, welcome in. John Lewis from Brazil says hello. Marsman50 joining us from Coleman, Wisconsin, where it's 40 degrees Fahrenheit, but sunny. John Paul Bacon saying hello. Andy W6AD says hello. There is Scott, Jim Kenny, and W.E. Holmes from a rainy Northern California saying hello. Well, welcome in to each and every one of you. I hope I didn't miss anyone. If I did, it wasn't on purpose. And so, yeah, the original GLiNet Comet, that's this little guy here, Let's see if I can maybe go a little closer up. This little guy here that shipped in that little box right there. You notice it has no screen on it. And it's got one little LED. It's made of metal. It's cold. Why I don't use it is because it is not optional to provide power to it. In addition, it gets power from this cable that it ignores. I mean, this cable right here, this is what we're going to plug into this computer here to grab control of the keyboard and mouse. But the same cable provides enough power at the same time to power this unit, and it's what every other nano KVM I use does. Only GLiNet does not make this optional. So that means it's another cable. So 1, 2, 3, that's our video output. And then it's not Wi-Fi, so we need Ethernet, 4 cables. Now by comparison, the Nano KVM Pro, which is wireless, more or less a competitor to this, 2 cables. But if this will also selfishly ignore the 5 volts coming off the USB, requiring us to put a second USB on whether we need it or don't. Some people do need this. Okay, that is a thing. That's an option depending on how you're deploying it. But for them to take that option away and say you have to use it, it adds another cable, and for that reason, I'm out. I'm assuming that's what's going to happen here, but I hope I'm wrong. As you can tell from the size of the boxes, everything has gotten bigger. Again, this one was $80, this one's $160. This one's 1080, this one's 4K. This one's got just a video output. This one has a video loop out to loop back out to a monitor. This one is wired LAN only. This is wired or wireless. So yeah, it's about twice as much, and it's about twice as big. Actually, I'd say it's a lot more than twice as big. But, you know, it could be this tiny in the box. I don't know until we take it out. So let me just remind you why you never see me use this. Everything else requires one less cable. It's one less thing to hook up. It's quicker for me to hook up anything else but this, because that additional cable adds a little more complexity. You need another USB port. And I understand, and again, I can't emphasize enough, some people do need the extra power. There's no circumstance where I have ever needed it. But the way you use it, maybe you would. I like the idea of every competitor to this brand that enables the unit to adapt to the needs of the end user instead of forcing the end user to adapt to the engineer's strict draconian rules that you have to have this whether you like it or not. That is a complete shutdown for me. I have plugged this in to update it. It works really well. I can't really complain about how it works. I don't like the extra cable. We should only need 2 cables. We should need one for the keyboard and mouse control, one for the video output. This could be on Wi-Fi, and it should be getting the power it needs. Just as our competitor, the Nano KVM, hooking up 2 cables is a lot better than the traditional hooking up 3, with the Ethernet being the 3rd cable. And adding a 4th one is going the wrong direction. So again, I'm not suggesting the 4th one should be removed. I'm suggesting it's optional for those who need it and optional for those who don't. That's what all their competitors do. They accommodate the needs of the user. GLiNet wants the user to accommodate the needs of the KVM. At least they did on the original. I strongly suspect they did the same thing here. I hope I'm wrong. Because no matter what else they did right, that one additional cable that nobody else requires but them is enough for me to put it on a shelf and never use it again. With that, are we ready for our unboxing? I am. I've been excited about this. I mean, I'm leery, and I'm really leaning to disappointment. But I'm also very hopeful I'm wrong. All right, so this is the GLiNet Comet Pro. And if you're not sure what these do, I suppose I should explain. This enables me to control any computer from anywhere in the world with no software, no subscriptions. And this is ideal for me when I'm working on computers here, because the way the studio is set up, I have to walk through the entire studio and come around back here to look at the monitor. So if I need to do a bunch of Windows updates or a virus scan or something's going to take 20 minutes, what am I supposed to do? Just stand here? So I'll end up, leaving the studio, I'll go upstairs, I'll get on my laptop, and then I'll forget this has been running downstairs for the last 5 hours. And I think, oh, I should probably go downstairs and check on it. I go back down the stairs and I walk back around the studio and I look at the screen, which has probably gone to sleep, and I've got to turn the monitor back on and wiggle the mouse, and then it's like, oh, okay, it's waiting on a restart. And then it's still doing updates during the restart, and you're like, oh gosh, what am I going to do? Sit here and wait for that? No, I'll go back upstairs. So what I'm able to do is hook up a KVM like this, something like this, and I don't need a monitor, keyboard, or mouse. I just go upstairs and I'm transferring the monitor and keyboard and mouse controls to the laptop in a browser window. And it doesn't even have to be a laptop. Anything that can open a browser, your phone, tablet, an Apple PC, a Linux PC, doesn't matter. No software is required. If I want to update the BIOS, if I want to do anything as though I were standing right here, I could do it upstairs, and it's just plug and play. On the other hand, if I want to access this from anywhere in the world, that requires a little additional setup for security purposes. And I've got one set up at Studio A, not this model, but I've got the Jet KVM set up at Studio A for just that reason. So I can connect from Studio C computer to the Studio A computer anytime I need to. No software subscriptions, no software to update. Totally 100% secure. And there's two examples of how I use this. And because I'm going to plug in a mini PC, do the updates, the drivers, all the things that take a while, I don't want to sit there and plug in all these cables just for something that's going to be on the bench for a couple hours, and then put the next one on the bench and plug in all these cables again. The fewer the cables, the better. It's still going to get the same job done with 2 cables from a different brand that this is going to do with 3 or 4. Why would I use this? Right? So that's where I'm coming from. And that's why I'm hoping this maybe has a feature of some sort that I haven't considered, that I'm like, how have I ever lived without this? So this may have other benefits besides, even if it still requires a separate power cable, which I truly believe it does. And I cannot tell you how sad and disappointed I am that they're just making up the rules that none of their competitors follow. They're saying it's not optional, like with the regular Comet, and all the other competitors go, what are they talking about? It's totally optional. So somebody's delusional. I just noticed this box has a big old tear right through here. It's interesting because the shrink wrap is sealed. There's no cut in the shrink wrap, but the box appears to be cut open. Isn't that weird? I'm sure it's fine. It's just very strange. Probably something happened in shipping. They didn't obviously cut through the box because they would have cut through the shrink wrap, and the shrink wrap is completely 100% sealed. So that cut had to happen either because something pressed in on this on the shipping and it just tore it through the shrink wrap, or at the factory, which I doubt. But regardless, they did ship when they said they were going to. There was about a $30 discount on Kickstarter when I ordered this. Instead of $159 plus sales tax, it was $129 plus shipping and tax. So they're pretty pricey. Like I said, as we get into the second generation of KVMs, they become more feature rich, and the price jumps according to that. So depending on your needs, you may not need a $160 KVM. An $80 KVM may do you just fine. All right, so this says what's included is the Comet Pro Remote Power Adapter. No KVM comes with a power adapter. That's concerning. Ethernet cable, okay. USB cable type A to type C, yeah. A USB cable type C to type C, okay. HDMI cable ×2 because it's got video pass-through, and it says there's a user manual in here, which is where all their competitors fall short, is in not having a user manual. But I will say, I wouldn't rely on that manual. If we look at GLiNet's website, before we unbox this, I want to show you, first of all, the way that they promote this. So let's jump over there right quick. You get into window capture. Okay, So this is the store at GLiNet, the US store, and the link for this is in the video notes below this video. And this is how they're promoting it: high performance keyboard, video, mouse over Wi-Fi. But it doesn't have to be over Wi-Fi. It's just they only mention Wi-Fi, but you can wire it too. That's why there's an Ethernet cable enclosed. It's got a more powerful processor than I think its competitors. It's got a gig of memory, 32 gigs of eMMC. That's what the software is going to load from. It is Wi-Fi 6 with 4K 30 frames per second and the 4K video pass-through. I would argue that if you need video pass-through, you're not buying the right KVM. Video pass-through implies that somebody can see the monitor. Well, if someone can see the monitor, you ought to be just fine with just traditional remote software. So I struggle with understanding why anybody in their right mind would order something with video pass-through that's a piece of hardware when a piece of software could do the job for free, like Rest Desk. But end users are end users, and if they say, well, I want to use this instead of software, and I want to be able to use the computer and use this device as a support device, the software is a lot cheaper and a lot easier to set up, but to each their own. Now, I understand there's always some unique use case scenarios where someone could justifiably say, I need remote software to something I'm also not remote with. That doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm sure there's a scenario someone can paint somewhere. The idea behind this is that there's nobody there. If there's nobody there, who's the monitor for? And people just, I don't know, maybe they're just hooked on a toy and they just want to do it anyway. So if you're, whatever reason, if you feel you need that video pass-through, this is what the second generation of these KVMs are starting to offer now. I don't use it. I can't imagine I would ever use it, but there you go. Boy, I don't know what's going on over here. That's a lot of cable mess. Not a fan of this. That's a big old mess. Let's see. Home or office? Yeah. 4K low video pass-through, low latency, Wi-Fi 6. Yep. It does support both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. That's good. It does two-way audio. Some people need audio to be transmitted. This will do that. But some of the cheaper KVMs will do that now that they've been updated with their software, like the Pico KVM will transmit audio. And I think, does the Jet KVM do it yet? They both use Jet KVM software. So anyway, self-hosted server and deployment. This is a nice touch if you want to set this up for access, in another location. This makes it real easy to set that up. So I'm not going to hammer on everything that's bad. There's some good stuff about this too. Wake on LAN, of course, they all support Wake on LAN. The ATX board, most of them offer this. It's sold as an accessory here, where it's included for free on the Nano KVM, not the Pro. And I would never use this, me personally, because again, this would only work for a desktop. It won't work for the mini PCs, and it won't work for laptops. So this is a waste of money for me. And then the Fingerbot, which I think is one of the dumbest inventions I've ever seen in my life, which is just a little motorized lever that comes out and can push a button for you. It's one of the dumbest, most simplistic. Like if somebody said, I want to be an engineer, but they actually don't have any education in engineering, this is how they would probably solve a problem. How can I push a button if I'm not there? Well, we could get some double-sided sticky tape and attach this stupid thing to it. And then that way it'll just reach out and mechanically push a button when we tell it to. I mean, you couldn't get any more basic and simple. This is, if I asked a 6-year-old, how would you solve this problem? This is what I expect a 6-year-old to tell me. So I have no respect for this solution. I think it's terrible. Obviously, this is going to need some power of some kind, a battery of some kind, and it needs an adhesive to stick it where you need it. It's got to be positioned just right, and it's going to get in the way of anybody actually pushing the button because it's blocking it. So I cannot wrap my head around this. This is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. And I'm just being honest with you. But hey, look, you might think it's genius. Who am I? There is the ability to run this with apparently power over Ethernet, which again, I don't use. It would not benefit me. And here we're adding more cables. I think GLiNet just wants to throw cables at everything and make everything as complicated as possible. I'm a guy that likes to keep things simple. And to me, this is over thought out, way too complex, and poorly designed as a result. I would not have designed this way. You can literally do this with almost anything. You can turn almost anything into PoE by using a PoE splitter. There's no unique design here. There's no innovation. And I find that disappointing. I expect to see innovation. They do have downloadable like slice files if you want to print your own little holster for this that you could mount into your rack system, which again, that's not for me, but you know, for some of you that might apply. We see a lot of people making videos on this earlier that were sent the unit for free in exchange for a review. And I just, you know, I've looked at these reviews, I kind of skimmed through them, and none of them are critical. As far as I can tell, they're not critical. This one says it's a $99. It was they had, when the Kickstarter started, they offered a limited number of these devices for $99. It was never a $99 unit. It was never going to sell for $99. It was just, if you support us early in the Kickstarter, the first 500 people can get it for $99. You'll never see that $99 price again. That is a complete deception, in my opinion, and I say shame on this content creator for, this is clickbait, because they're not lying. They did offer it for $99, and so this one did it too. It's only $99. No, only the first 500 people that ordered it when it at first introduced on Kickstarter for the first couple hours of the first day, and when it sold out at $99, the next price tier went up to $119, and that one went up to $129. And if you want to buy it, again, if we go back up here to see the price, it's never $99, except for just a momentary period of time. They're saying it's $179 and they're going to offer it at $159. That's the discounted real price. So these content creators all took the PR marketing and said, hey, we're selling this for $99, and they all ran with it, and shame on them for not disclosing that that was a very limited coupon deal for the first few people that ordered, and it will never be seen again. That's done. Very misleading. I'm very disappointed in the lack of disclosure here, but this is why I make my videos, to point out what others are doing. And guess what? They were probably paid to make those videos, or they were at least received a free unit. And if they want to continue getting free units, they're probably going to do whatever the company wants them to do. That's my guess. All right, that's how the game is played here on YouTube. We don't play that game. I bought this unit like anybody else. I did not pay that price like most people. I paid $129, which is still a discount, but not the $99. And then when you add the shipping and the tax onto that $129, we're closer to about $160. All right, so that's the reality, and that's what full disclosure sounds like. That's what transparency looks like. So they're comparing themselves here to the regular Comet that I've already shown you. Then they have a slightly larger version that runs on PoE without all the adapters. That's a smart design for people who need it. And then we've got the latest and greatest one that we're looking at today. We talk about the processors on each of these, the specs and how they are designed. They're all 1 gig LAN ports. Most of the competitors only use 100 meg because you don't really need more than that. But again, numbers sell. You can convince consumers to buy more than they need, and they'll buy yours rather than your competitors and pay more for it, because you're selling them an idea. You're not actually selling them anything practical that makes any sense. It doesn't have to make logical sense to a consumer just to drive the desire up. Consumers make emotional-based purchases constantly. There's all of your benefits of a BIOS access when you're remote, same as any other. This is exactly the same as any other KVM, except there's only one other KVM on the market that supports Wi-Fi. That's the Nano KVM Pro, which is cheaper than this. And I'm not sure which one's faster, but let's see, USB 2, two-way audio, app browser. This is all the same on the Nano KVM Pro at less money. So again, my issue here is innovation. What are we doing different, and what are we doing better? So let's keep scrolling. A little bit more about the unit here, its operating system, interface, etc. And then over here is going to be your documentation. And this is where you want to go. And we have a link in the video notes, docs.glinet.com/KVM. That's going to bring you your documentation. That's going to be more up to date with your product overview, a quick setup guide, control panel guide, and of course they got their legal Federal Communications Commission and IC compliance statements, which, yeah, we all read those, right? But nonetheless, I'm hoping we can just hook this up and we don't need to refer back to the documentation. But if we do, I'll leave this browser tab open just in case. But it should be intuitive. If they did their job well and they engineered it well, it should be very easy to use and very obvious. Again, it's still early in development, so do expect there's going to be a lot of software updates in the next 6 months that will keep improving this device from wherever it sits today. Regardless of my conclusion, I can tell you the Comet, the regular Comet that we have, it's a much better unit today than it was when I bought it because of the software updates. But there's no software update that lets you get around having to have that separate USB power cable, which I can't get past because no one else does that in this sub $200 KVM range. They're the only ones that do it. Now, if this was significantly cheaper, I might be able to look the other way, but they're also one of the most expensive. So with that, here we go. All right, we've got a little card here for getting help. There's a get started guide. We have a plug adapter for a US plug, which I guess they change out depending on which country it's shipping to. The unit itself is actually, wow, it is much bigger than I thought it was going to be. That is the single largest sub $200 KVM I've ever seen in my life. This thing is, well, we have to compare it against things. So its closest competitor is the Nano KVM Pro from Cypede. And Cypede also makes the Nano KVM Lite, which is the smallest KVM. It's just about 2 inches. Only requires 3 cables: power, sorry, not power, USB, HDMI, and Ethernet. So, but this one is wireless, and I want you to see the size difference.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So you think if it's this big, there must be something better in it, but I think they're pretty much matched on specs. This unit does get warm. It's the hottest. This one here does get to be the hottest. The screen is much bigger here, but this screen is much more useful. That could change with software updates. But if we look on the back, they're exactly the same. Same number of ports. They're just spaced out a little bit more. You've got your USB 2, and we've got, well, we don't have a USB 2 on this. I stand corrected. So we have an old school USB 2. This would be for things like the Fingerbot, stuff like that. Your LAN connection, HDMI with pass-through, HDMI with pass-through. You have USB-C for keyboard and mouse and USB-C for power. Here you've got USB-C for keyboard and mouse and power, as well as an additional USB-C for power if optionally required for your setup, and another USB-C here for any sort of, I would guess it would be accessories, like the little ATX board to turn the system on and off. Things like that would go into that third one. So I can use this unit as it sits, Wi-Fi, with just these 2 cables. I want you to remember that. One USB cable and one HDMI cable, and I'm good to go. That's it. Super easy. With this one, it's effectively the same thing, but it's massive. So I don't really care how big the unit is. For the most part, I care about how it performs and how easy it is to set up and how responsive it is to meeting the needs that I have. Not that you have, that I have. Okay? So that's what I'm basing my review on, are my needs. Now, if we look in the box to see what else is in here, by the way, this one's cheaper, just so you know. What else do we have? Yikes. Okay, in the box, we've got a power adapter, which again, I've never seen a sub $200 KVM require a power adapter. It's always been optional and never includes a power adapter. That's the first I've ever seen that. I will never use it, so part of the price is me paying for something I don't want and I won't use. And I don't have that option as a consumer like I do with their competitors. That bothers me. I like options. I like to be able to tailor this to my needs, not force myself to have to do things in a more complicated way that in my setup is unnecessary, but in your setup may be necessary. If your setup requires it to be more complicated, then it's excusable. But if my setup doesn't, why am I paying for this? Why am I paying for an HDMI cable? Why am I paying for another one? There should only be one HDMI cable included. It includes an Ethernet cable. Okay, I mean, that's fine, I guess. It's not uncommon to have an Ethernet cable. We have a USB-C to C cable, and we have a USB-A to C cable. The C to C is clearly for the adapter. This must be a USB-C adapter for power, but there's no reason power cannot be drawn from this one cable like all their competitors. No differently than this one does. It gets all the power it needs from that one single USB-A to C cable. It does include the HDMI cable. And again, this costs less money because you're not buying all this extra stuff. So I cannot get on board with the decision makers at GLiNet, but that's what I was afraid of when I ordered this, is that it was going to be designed with a very tunnel vision engineering perspective, that we're going to make this the most complicated way possible so that even people with the simplest of needs still have to set it up in a complicated way. These folks and everybody else says we're going to make this as simple as possible, and as you need more, you can make it more complicated, but we're not forcing everybody to do it the way GLiNet forces it. So it's something that you need to think about when you're making your purchasing decision over if that's worth it to you, because as I mentioned, this is the single most expensive sub $200 KVM in the market today. So there's a lot of negativity I'm saying in this review, but I still haven't turned it on because look, when I turn it on and configure it, I could do a complete 180. So stay with me on this. Let's see what happens. I'm very skeptical because of my experience with the Comet. I feel like this is probably more of the same, but you know, its usability might just, I'm telling you, this is going to be hard to beat. This is where the bar is, and I'm hopeful this goes over that, raises that bar, but I don't think it's going. Just being honest, I should probably keep it to myself. I try to be unbiased, but I am very concerned that the issues I have with the previous version have been carried over, and I hope I'm wrong, or that it's worth it because they've done something in the software that's so magical. It makes everything so much simpler. But in my mind, I'm like a company that likes to keep things complicated as far as all the hardware goes. Like, look how much bigger this is. Look how much more money it is. Look how much more complex everything is. Why do I think their software is going to be easier? They don't seem to have the mindset of that at GLiNet. No insult to them. It's just, I'm a keep it simple guy. You only make it as complicated as required, never more than that just because. Those are the rules I live by. GLiNet lives by different rules. Nobody's right or wrong. It's just my level of values compared to theirs. So let me grab the HDMI cable and one of the USB cables just to see if this will run off two cables the same way this one will. And I'll bet you it won't. I'm already disappointed, but we have to give it a shot. We have to try it. And listen, if this works, I'm going to hit the floor. I'll be shocked. In a good way. So I've got this machine set up. It's not turned on. And what I'm going to do is plug in where it says HDMI in. I'm going to plug in right there. And then instead of plugging a monitor into this, because again, if you need a monitor plugged into this, just use software. Go get Rustdesk. It's free. Knock yourself out. You don't need any of the stuff I'm showing you. But if you still want to do it anyway, then you would take the monitor that you've unplugged from your machine, plug it in the output, and then take this cable and plug it where your monitor used to go. And this does that too. So we'll plug that in. I need to give the mini PC power. It doesn't have any power. And you'll notice I just have the one keyboard and mouse that controls the streamer. There's no keyboard and mouse for this because this will emulate the keyboard and mouse with a USB cable. So we'll take the USB type A that goes to type C. Okay. And we're going to plug that in where it says, well, it doesn't say anything. It's just got a picture of a keyboard and mouse on it, right in the middle. And then plug that into any USB port on the computer. Now, if this is any other sub $200 KVM on the market, this will light up and turn on when I turn on the computer, as it establishes 5 volts of power from the same USB cable. And I don't believe this one will turn on. I hope I'm wrong. It's one way to know for sure. See the blue light come on? Do we get anything on the screen? Let's give it a minute. This is a very serious concern for me. And you have no idea how upset I am that Comet didn't learn their lesson on the first one. I made it clear on the first one. I know they heard me, and I guess they could give a rat's behind what CareyHolzman thinks or anybody who shares his values thinks. I guess their attitude is, if you don't like it, don't buy it. I can't find any other excuse for this, because all of their competitors can do this with 2 cables. Look, if I take these 2 cables out, same 2 cables, and I plug them into your competitor's KVM that's smaller, lighter, and costs less, will it turn on with 2 cables? Yep. Will it connect to Wi-Fi? Does it work 100%? Yes, yes, and yes. And they came out months ago. Yours is 4 months late and apparently 4 months behind in design. I don't get what's going on at the think tank over at GLiNet. Why are your engineers not keeping up with your competitors' engineers? Why are you following? You should be leading. You should be demonstrating to your competitors how superior you are. Where are we seeing this? That's all I need to hook this up. I'm already connected. This is ready to go, and I can connect to this right now. See how easy and painless that was? Yes, I did pre-configure this to get onto my Wi-Fi, as I want to do with this one, but I got to get it turned on first so I can get it to this stage. Nothing special about the cables. They're the same cables, but something different about this. And it's true of the original Comet, and I was really hoping they would address that, and they haven't. They continue to just do things the way they want to, and doesn't matter. You combine this with the fingerbot thing, and I just feel like their engineers must have zero imagination. I don't know what's going on. There's like, that's your innovation, is a little button that moves back and forth. Like, this is one of the single most simplistic designs. If you went on to Shark Tank and you said, I have an idea for a thing that pushes buttons for you, what does it do? Oh, it's a little thing you stick on that covers up the button, so you'll never be able to press it by hand again. You'll always have to use this. What happens when the tape wears out? Well, I guess it'll fall off. It's just bad. Bad, bad, bad. In my opinion. Tell us how you really feel. So we have to give this additional power. I think I've made that clear by now, or it's made it clear. So I can get additional power from the USB port. I don't have to use the adapter. This is what I'm talking about. It's like if you went to a restaurant and they said, we're making burgers with cheese and mayo and ketchup and mustard and pickles and relish, and that's the way we serve it. No substitutions. We're not going to make it special for you. And we like to cook it medium wellness. And you say, but I want no cheese and I want it well done. We don't do that here. Would you eat at that restaurant? And what if I told you their burgers cost more and had actual less meat on them? Would that make you want to eat there more? That's my problem. Like, I'm like, what's the excuse? What possible excuse can you come up with to justify this? But how it looks and how it hooks up is minor compared to how it works. So I'm going to just plug this into a USB Type-C back here, which we have a couple of, and hopefully that'll provide the power this needs to light it up. Tell us how you really feel. Well, I want to be honest, all right? I don't want to sugarcoat it. I don't want to walk on eggshells. I want to be straight up, and I want the communication to be clear and understandable. This is a problem that exists only with GLiNet, none of their competitors. There's no precedent for GLiNet to follow here that demonstrates this is justifiable. It's just laziness or incompetence. Or just selfishness. They just don't think of anybody else but themselves. This is why I don't use the Comet, because that's the same idealism you can tell in its design as they didn't care. So look, I like this company's portable routers. I think they do a great job with their portable routers. In fact, I like their portable routers over anybody else that makes them. But just like a restaurant, you know, they might make a good burger, but you don't want the soup. It's terrible. That's what I feel like this is. It's so difficult for me to like this. I want to like it. I really want to, and they're making it so hard. So let's see, what do we have on the screen here? Configure password or skip setup. All right, so I guess we have a touchscreen, configure password. What happens if I tap that? Enter a password. Can I just have numbers? Okay, well, interestingly, there's a power thing here that shows a battery. Why does it show a battery? Or am I looking at it? That looks like a little battery. There's no battery in here, is there? That wouldn't make any sense. Tell you what, I'd rather not do the touchscreen. I'd rather set this up as you would set up any other and log into it. So let's try and log into it. I'm going to show you how these work. We're going to go to our browser, back to the browser. And let's open a new tab. And I'm trying to remember what the website is. It might say on the bottom of the unit here. GL-KVM.local. Okay, so GL-KVM.local is printed on the bottom of the unit. Push enter, and we should do our out-of-box setup here. Oh, guess what? This isn't going to work. I haven't plugged an Ethernet cable into it, and I haven't configured it for Wi-Fi because I only have 3 cables. Hold on, let me go get another cable. Now granted, once I set up the Wi-Fi, this other cable will be optional, but we have to do that the first time. Or we have to go through the touch screen, which I'm not going to do that. Okay, let's see. Close that out. Yeah, unfortunately, this isn't defaulting to giving me the status of the network. This one does. This one will tell me my IP address. This is hiding everything from me until I set it up. But what if I don't want to set it up that way? What if I want to set it up on the screen? There doesn't seem to be any way for me to get to the status page. Wait, hold on. It does say skip setup. Okay, got it. Skip, skip. Finally. Okay, so I had to push skip 3 times, and now I've got my IP address and status. So we did get there. That's fine. I can calm down a little bit, but this should be the default screen in my opinion. And then if you want to set it up, it should be the other way around. But that's just my opinion. You might disagree. It's not a right or wrong, it's just a preference. But let's get back over to our window capture and try connecting to it again. So GL-KVM.local is its default name from the factory, which I'll keep. I think that's a good name. I got no problem with it. says your connection is not private. This is normal on all these sub $200 KVMs. You just do this once on your browser. Now we have to enter up an admin account. So I'm going to say for a password, let's see. What do I want to put in here? Password. Let me just use password. 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 Yeah, let me use it. So that it doesn't enforce rules on. Yeah, your password could be 1234. We don't care, but you absolutely have to use a power cable. This is so backwards. All right, whatever. So where's my desktop? Oh, here it comes. All right. So now we're looking at the mini PC next to me, not the streamer. And that's our desktop. And yeah, that mouse trail, you see the little mouse that follows the big mouse? The little cursor that follows the big one? That's a pretty fast response time. There's probably maybe a new update to the software. So if we go over here, it says version 1.6.1 release 1. Let's click on that and see if there's any updates. Yeah, we're up to version 1.70. That's release 2. These updates are very important. We don't need to save the current configuration, just upgrade it. And the upgrade on these is very easy. GLiNet did do a good job with making the upgrade process seamless. Pico KVM is a pain in the butt at this current stage of development. Nano KVM does a good job. Most do a good job. But I will say, just because I'm feeling a little guilty about beating on GLiNet, if I didn't know any better, I'd like it. All right, so it takes about 2 minutes. Don't press any buttons or unplug, just like any other BIOS update, right? We're updating the software on this. You've asked it to do something, leave it alone. Does the screen say anything? So the screen says GLiNet on it, so that changes to let you know it's doing something. If I come over here temporarily just to show you camera 2, you can see the screen on here just says GLiNet instead of giving a status like of the IP address or connection status. And now you can see it appears to be booting. So I appreciate that. Not all KVMs will tell you what they're doing. Like Pico KVM, the screen just goes black. You have no idea what's happening other than the information on screen. But as you can see, we didn't need to install any software. We didn't need to, sign up for any subscriptions. And the account we created is to the unit itself, not to GLiNet. GLiNet does have the cloud status account option that's free for you if you want to set this up over the internet, to have access over the internet. But you can also do probably Tailscale or other ways of doing it too if you don't trust them. But if you use their stuff, it's a lot easier. And I appreciate that. I appreciate having options. I haven't made that clear by now. So we're at 99% there, and just to take a look at what the screen is doing, we're back to setting it up again for some reason. So I don't know if because I didn't save the settings, if it reset it, but it still says it's upgrading even though it looks like it's done on the screen of the unit itself. I'm going to hit skip setup on the screen. Got it, skip a third time, and then that finally takes me to the regular status screen that I'm always looking for here. But it's 3 skippings. Skip, which is 1 ought to do the job, is all I'm saying. And it should be the other way around, that if I want to set it up, there should be a setup button, not the other way around. I think they've got it backwards. If you want to keep things simple, they did the opposite of that. But that's been what to expect from them. So I'm not surprised. I'm just hopeful that things get better. So what's happening here is it doesn't seem to be refreshing, because the unit appears to be ready. And it's like this page hasn't refreshed. So I'm going to refresh manually. We'll just give that a minute. Because if this has an IP address displayed, it's good to go. There's no more updating happening. Now, I'm sure if we gave it enough time, yeah, so we're going to do this again because we erased the settings, that's why. And then we'll probably be asked to set up the password again. Yep. So I guess next time I'll keep the box checked. Will it still let me use password of password? Yes, it still lets me have an insecure password. So they've overcomplicated things that didn't need to be, and they've undercomplicated things that should have been not allowed, as far as like setting up a password like that on a device like this that could give somebody full access to your machine. I just feel like their priorities are all backwards. But that just goes to show you why I don't run a KVM company, because maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. They're the ones who have an actual product. I don't. So keep that in mind. It does look like we're in 4K right now, which I personally don't like 4K, but I'm going to just change that to 1080. Oh, it shows we're in 2K. I just find the screen a lot easier to read. But this is, again, personal preference. Now, we should be able to go full screen on this right here. And now it looks like I'm directly connected to that mini PC, as though my keyboard, my mouse, and my monitor were directly plugged into it, even though I could be on the computer upstairs. It doesn't even matter where I am. And then I can just act like I'm right on the desktop. The only kind of thing you notice here is that trailing mouse, which is, it's quite responsive. If we hit this down button here, we get the toolbar for different apps, such as Tailscale, which would be an independent way to set up a VPN with this over the network. I would prefer to use GLiNet's cloud because it's easier, but to each their own. Of course, virtual media. I don't see any way to expand the memory on this. That's a big no-no. Essentially, when you look at their competitors, they have a memory card slot that you can expand the internal memory, and it looks like GLiNet is charging you more and giving you less. Unfortunately, there appears to be no way to expand the memory on this, which is, I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see a trans flash card slot on this at all. And at this price point, I don't know how that's excusable. Again, it just seems like a very their design seems to be oblivious to what their competitors are doing, the size, the price, and the capabilities. They seem disconnected, as though they're living on another planet where their competitors don't exist and have never heard of a KVM before. That's the weird thing. That's so weird to me. It's bigger, it's more expensive, it's more complicated, and yet it doesn't seem to do anything any better. So far. It's not worse. Now, it does say you can plug an external device in, whatever this means, which I guess if you wanted to control a fingerbot, or maybe you can plug a flash drive in there, but there should be a trans flash. At this price point, if there's no trans flash card, it's got to be because you've already given me 32 gigs of memory, minimal. And maybe they have. We go through the settings. We can change the screen orientation. The ED-ID is for the monitor if it's not displaying correctly. The auto should work. We can turn on speaker and microphone. We can have a mouse jiggler to keep the screen awake on the remote machine. We can look at the network and see, you know, there's the ability to modify these settings. That seems pretty straightforward, even including Wi-Fi, which will scan the network, let me pick my Wi-Fi, and enter that password, and then I won't need that fourth cable anymore. I'll only be down to 3. And that does appear to work fine. I won't set that up during a live video, but that's where you go. I would rather set this up with these big buttons and a keyboard than to try and push my way through a touchscreen that's 2 inches in size. But again, my preference. Now, time zone, we're at UTC, is it +7? There is a small clock on here, and it's telling me it's 9:03. That's not the right time. What would it be? UTC -7? I can never remember UTC. Oh, you know what? This isn't even taking effect. I don't see an OK or an apply. So I don't know how to make that setting change. What do I do now? there's no OK button. I made the selection and the time on the unit is not changing. I hope they address this in a future update, because what am I supposed to do now? Okay, the time just changed when I closed it. It says 14:04. Yeah, that's my time right now. It's at 2:05, 2:04. So there should be some kind of a checkbox next to time zone to apply or OK for those settings to take effect. That's something they can easily address in an update. It's not obvious. How do you make that change take effect? So under the toolbox, you got the clipboard, shortcuts. Hey, the shortcuts are a nice little addition. Wake on LAN, they all support that. Terminal mostly have that as well on other competitive units that are very similarly equipped for less money and smaller in size. Virtual media, they all have this. Yes, they do give us 26, 27 gigs of space, but what if we want to expand it? So with the Nano KVM, you get 32 gigs similarly, but then you have the option to plug in whatever transflash card you want. Same with the Pico KVM. So if you want to put a 2 terabyte transflash in there, you can. Here, not available, and you're going to pay more for it. So I don't know why you're paying more for the KVM. It does the same stuff as everybody else. Well, I won't say everybody else. There's only one real competitor to this, and that's that Nano KVM Pro. But if I had any complaints about the Nano KVM Pro, I have to say, now that I've seen GLiNet's Comet Pro, the complaints I had about the Nano KVM Pro seem like petty. I appreciate that. If there's anything good to come of this review, it's that if I thought the Nano KVM Pro wasn't good enough, I have a new appreciation for just how good it is now. So I appreciate GLiNet really waking me up to appreciating and having gratitude. The fact that I paid less for it. And yes, I got it early and it wasn't as well polished as this OS. GLiNet waited a lot longer to release this, and had Nano KVM Pro done that, a lot of my complaints were I think they released it too early and it wasn't ready yet. Now the Nano KVM Pro is absolutely ready, and it's still not done updating, but they've got everything solid with it. All the issues I had with it are pretty much done, except it does run really hot. Now the GLiNet, so far it's not running anywhere near as hot as the Nano KVM Pro. And again, just because it runs hot doesn't mean it's bad, but the Nano KVM Pro runs hotter than any other KVM I have, period. It's unprecedented in the amount of heat it puts off. Is that good? Is it bad? Does it mean anything? I don't know. It's just, this is what separates them, right? Otherwise, they're all the same. So what makes one different from another? Size, price, speed, accessibility, usability, and I would factor in, the size of the screen. The GLiNet's a bigger unit, has a bigger screen. It's a little easier to read. So again, I'm trying to see the good and the bad here, but I'm having a real hard time seeing the good because it's not unique. So let me go back over to the chat room and see what you guys have to say, because I haven't been looking. You see the screen goes to sleep. I don't know if we can adjust that. And for me, having a screen on a remote device that you can't utilize, see, or touch doesn't make any sense. I mean, I need to know the IP address perhaps, but this idea that you're in front of this using it implies that you're not using it remotely. You can't touch this screen or see this screen if it's in a building connected to a computer that nobody's in. Hence, you need remote access. I look, having the screen's fine. It's fine. But being able to manipulate the screen, do things with the screen, and I have the same complaint with this one. Having it work as a second display and having it play games, stupid in my opinion, because you wouldn't be in the same room with this. I appreciate that this has the scroll wheel too, because sometimes the touchscreens get a little sensitive, and so this is an option to roll a wheel and push it in to make your selections, instead of trying to get things to swipe and your finger to you know, finally accept whatever. This drives me crazy. All right. Side by side, cheaper and hotter. 4K pass-through, 4K pass-through. Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi. Transmit audio, transmit audio. Which would you rather have? You tell me. And tell me why. No additional power cable required? Power cable absolutely required. I almost didn't order this. I said, I'll bet you I'm going to be disappointed by it. And then I said, if you never experience it, how will you know for sure? So when this first came out, I thought for $99 I'll buy it. So the day it came out, I went on the Kickstarter and there were no $99 units, and I felt lied to. At no point did it say this is limited to the first couple hundred on day one. That really, right out of the gate, pissed me off. It should have said first 500 units were $99. After that, it's never going to be that cheap ever again. So for all of these content creators to promote it at $99, every one of them omitted critical information. As far as I can tell, nobody said, oh, by the way, this is not a $99 KVM. That's just an introduction for the first couple hundred people that reserve one. That happened within the first couple hours that went live on Kickstarter, because I was on it on day one, and I couldn't get it at that price. Let's see. My screen just went wonky on me. Let me Alt-Tab back to where I was. Okay, I don't know what that was all about. But regardless, we didn't start off on the right foot, and I was already hesitant to take the first step. And then I said, well, at that price, I might as well wait. I think I waited about 4 weeks, and I said, who am I kidding? I'm going to order this. Just get it over with. But where I ordered 3 of these and 3 of the others because of the Jet KVM fiasco, and I wish I had ordered more of them, this one I said, I don't think I'm going to like it. I'm just going to order 1. But at least I'll know. All right, so now let me get over to the chat and see what you guys are saying here. I'm having some weird browser issues. So bear with me for a second. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my browser. It's all hosed up. I'm gonna shut my browser down. I'm still broadcasting, but I want the browser to reset. Everything got all wonky. So for a moment, I can't see the chat room yet, but I'm gonna bring it back up here. Okay, now it looks good again. Well, no, it doesn't. It's still wonky. Why? Is my HDMI cable loose? Try that. No, still not right. I'm assuming you guys can see and hear the video just fine, right? I think this is just me. That looks good. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing a weird shift left and right on my video playback, so I'm gonna pause that. Studio video looks fine though. It's the playback in YouTube that seems to be shifting around. That's gotta be something on the streamer, but I'm not gonna reboot during a live feed. We'll just deal with it. Interesting. My OBS window resized and everything. That's so weird. Okay, regardless. It's a whole nother ball of wax. Nothing to do with any of this, I'm sure. Let me log back into this just to see if it recreates that problem, just so I can make sure. GL KVM .local. Wants my password, PASSWORD. I can't believe they allow that. And yeah, it's still doing the same thing. My video is shifting to the left, but I'm assuming for you guys, everything looks normal. Wayne Ellison said, yeah, the video and the sound is fine. Very good. And he said the mouse is about as fast as the Nano KVM Pro. Well, once again, I agree with you. At some point you reach a speed where anything faster or even slightly slower is imperceptible to humans. So, you know, once you reach that speed, anything above it or near it is more or less the same. Let me scroll up here and see what I've been missing. Zafat said one of the USB-C says 5 volts, 2 amps, what might suggest that it could be a required power cable. There are other KVMs that also, well, here, take the Nano KVM Pro. This one here says power. It's a dedicated power cable. But you see me use this and it doesn't require it. This is no different, but it does require it. What gives? Andy says, wow, a finger bot. Sorry, I'm just now reading that. Joshua Fawcett said, surely they could have designed something to go in line with regular power switch internally. Jet KVM, Pico KVM, they include a USB-C splitter so that you could plug power into one, plug your computer into the other for the keyboard and mouse control, and then plug the one end of it then into the KVM. That's already been done. It's like they're completely oblivious to their competitors. It's really weird. It's like, oh, we haven't been to the planet Earth before. Have you guys already done this? Yeah, and we did it cheaper. We did it equivalently as fast. And we don't require all these cables. The GLiNet has done a good job with their software, though. I will tell you, their software is very good. But then I could also say Jet KVM, Pico KVM, Nano KVM. All their software is good. I feel like I'm missing one. Jet KVM, Nano KVM, Pico. Who am I forgetting? They've all done a good job with their software. Pico's got the most work to go now. And now I would say GLiNet needs to kind of step up to the plate here and be a leader in this space. They are a leader in the mini portable router space. For price, value, everything. So that for them to come out with a second version where they have the opportunity to correct everything that I felt like could have been improved on the original model, they didn't. They added more features, but they didn't improve what they already had. So they said, we'll just carry through what we already had as good enough and just add a bunch more features on top of it, make it bigger, make it twice as much money. And I feel like they really missed the opportunity here. They really missed the mark huge. Not only that, they came to market late. This has already been out for months.
Joshua Fawcett said, I did paid reviews for a company, and most of the items were great. The moment I added some constructive criticism, they dropped me like a lead balloon and never sent me any more work. But that's, why would they pay you to make them sound anything other than glowing? Would you pay money to somebody to criticize you? So the only true reviews you can get have to come from either a company that appreciates the criticism and it isn't paying you. They'll send you the product, right? Like we've had Minis Forums send us products, but we're free to review them and to be critical of anything, and they appreciate it. They've never punished us because I've been critical. But these companies are few and far between. And if that's the company's internal behaviors, doesn't it make you second guess every review you ever did with them now? Now that you see who they really are behind the scenes, even if it is a good product, if you don't like the people or you don't agree with the values of the people running the organization, I feel like that should be a part of the review. I like TeamViewer, but I'll never use it again and they'll never get another dime from me because I don't agree with the draconian, rule-enforcing, price-gouging attitude of the people running that company. That doesn't mean the software is not good, but it's definitely not worth it, and they're not worth dealing with them. I'd rather buy a product that is lacking at a fair price and deal with a great company that wants to work with you and appreciate your business than to have that flip the other way. But that's just me personally, that's just the way I am. Because at least with the company that's trying, there's always hope. You know what I'm saying? Like, this could get better. They seem eager and appreciative and, you know, earnest. But with a company that's like, we're doing you a favor by a business transaction, it has to be reciprocal. There must be a benefit of equal value to you and to the other party. Whether you're the buyer or the seller, or they're the buyer or seller, no one should be screwing the other person or doing the other person a favor. We either agree in this transaction that we both benefit, or we just take our business somewhere else. That's it. It's the way it's always been, unless you're a scammer. Bajan guy says this KVM looks huge. Well, it's definitely the biggest one I've ever seen under $200. When you get into these, I keep mentioning the under $200 price range because there have been KVMs for years. But, you know, they're massive rack-mounted things for enterprise businesses. To be able to shrink it down like this, make it affordable for home user use, this has just happened within the last couple of years with like the Pi KVM, which is still $400 to $600. And it also requires power because it's a powered computer, not USB power. We're talking 12-volt power in that thing. So these are a nice evolution to that. And I want to see them continue to grow. I'm just sad. I so wanted to be proven wrong. I wanted all of my assumptions and preconceptions. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted GLiNet to make me look like a fool. But they just did more of the same. Exactly what I was afraid of is exactly what they did. And I would, if I said to myself, I'm just going to order one just so I'm sure that we're still dealing with the same engineers with the same mentality, that they haven't changed that mentality. Because maybe they did. Maybe they brought on some fresh blood and some new thinkers or some management that says, hey, we need to redesign this with a different mindset. No, they didn't. I can tell it's the exact same people who designed this that designed the Comet. There's no new ideas here. It's more of the same. It's obviously coming from the same people that are responsible. And until you change those people or add some additional open-minded people to offer the innovation, I expect this to just keep happening with this product and from this company. Nano KVM, SciPede, they're all over the place. They got all different kinds of weird designs. Look at Minis Form. Look at all the different designs of mini PCs they have. Towers and little tiny things and regular, normal, you know, common ones and workstations and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many different engineers and different concepts and values and price points and capabilities. This is just more of what the Comet was, with a couple added features, a much bigger price, and a much bigger size. I don't see any other innovation there. And yet, I can't think of any good reason why they would do that, especially if they took 4 more months to come out than their competitor, and they're going to charge more for it. Was it worth the wait, and is it worth the extra money? Save your money. Buy the Nano KVM Pro. So what? It runs a little warmer. But that's just me. That's my opinion based on my values. I also like that. You see what this is right here? If I zoom in on this. Hold on a minute. Where's my close-up camera? This is called a transflash card. I guess the people at Comet don't know what this is. And what this lets me do is expand the storage on this without having to open it up and, you know, do some kind of maker modification. I buy the memory card, I push it in there, and I've just expanded the storage, making this even more valuable to me. How do I do that on this one? That costs more money. That isn't even released publicly yet. That I'm paying more money for, that's physically larger. How do I do that? Oh, I don't? Am I making my point? That horse is beaten to death, Carey, a half an hour ago. But I really want to drive it in. Am I missing something? Am I missing something? Can any of you explain why you would purchase this one over this one? Genuinely, sincerely. Don't tell me what I want to hear. Be honest. And tell me why. Because I don't get it. Ernstrad said there's a 5G version of this coming. Why? I need remote access to something that's mobile? How does that make any sense? If it's mobile, bring it to me. If it were mobile, why would I need remote access to it? In what world does that make any sense? There's probably somebody out there that has a use case for that, and I'll let you know, and you let me know if you ever find one. I'm not saying it doesn't solve a problem for somebody, but who has this problem? I got to be honest with you. When I'm connecting this to control a computer remotely, the computer remotely I'm controlling needs to have internet. Otherwise, what's the point? So if this has 5G and I can connect to this, and once I can connect to this, let's say this is turned on but has no internet, because if I had Wi-Fi or Ethernet, then so would this, I wouldn't need the 5G. And if I can't share the internet off of this with the device it's connected to, that would have been a cool feature if I could. Then I only need one network connection, and then it could virtually share that through a virtual network card into the machine I'm connected to. Now it's making sense. Now we've got innovation. Why don't you work on that GLiNet? Then I'll be behind you on the 5G. Until then, unless the thing I'm also connecting to has 5G, in what world does that make any sense? I don't have words. Andy says, wasn't there a LuckFox KVM? That's the Pico. LuckFox is the manufacturer, like Cypede makes this and GLiNet makes the Comet. LuckFox makes the Pico. So we got brand name, model name. Andy says the only neat thing the Comet has that the Nano KVM does not is that really neat fingerbot. Can you give me an example of how you would utilize the fingerbot? And I don't mean this to be insulting, but if I were 6 years old and someone asked me, how would you push a button remotely? I'd say, we'll just get a little motor and a little plastic piece. That's not an engineering fix. That is the most basic, simplistic, plain logic that comes with the consequence of having to have a battery that's charged and tape that's sticky enough to not knock itself off, while at the same time blocking access from you ever pressing that button, at least without being really careful to get around the fingerbot so you can push the damn button. So you're saying, okay, I'm never going to push that button ever again. From this point forward, only the fingerbot will do it. Okay, well, I hope you have some access to that fingerbot to change that battery, and I hope that tape stays sticky. It's a temporary solution that is the most basic, thoughtless engineering solution that is so disappointing. If somebody was in elementary school and they said, hey, teacher, I came up with this design, I would be so proud of them. What a bright young man you are. But as a grown adult, supposedly with a degree in engineering, coming up with the exact same solution as a child, and then implementing it and a company approving it, engineering to me it's like art. All right. So if an engineer was an artist and drew me a stick figure, I'd say, well, that'd be great if you were 6. But as an adult artist, I would expect more creativity and ingenuity. The simplicity and the flaws in the fingerbot design are so clear and obvious. I don't know how anybody approved it, and I don't know how anybody even suggested it that has any pride. Because you clearly didn't think through anything novel. You didn't create a unique solution. It was the most obvious solution that has so many obvious limitations. And it's, best I could say, lazy. It's just lazy. So I have no respect for that fingerbot. I think it's one of the most disgusting insults to engineers I've ever seen. If this was 1972, it might have impressed me. But that's just me. It disgusts me. When I think of a real engineer, I think of someone who's innovative and has ingenuity. And when I see that, that is neither. So coming from an engineer that did that, I got no respect for that engineer at all. That's just sad. It's the most basic and obvious flawed design anybody could dream up. With no engineering degree at all, you could have done that. So I have a higher expectation from professionals. But that's just my feeling. You know, that's just me. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's how I feel. Oh, Andy said he was joking. Well, you got to put a smiley face or a JK. I can't see your expression and I can't hear your tone. Always make sure if you're joking in a text, you've got to put a winky face or you got to put a J/K, or how does anybody, it's a joke only for you. If you don't do that, how would you expect anybody to know? All right. I mean, if you'd have said it sincerely, how would you have said it differently is all I'm trying to say. All right. Mark Leibowitz was here in the chat room, just saw him. Wayne Ellison said he likes the Jet KVM because he can see the status of the USB and connection. That's true of all of them. Nothing unique there. I'm sure this one will tell us on the screen and on the software. This says real-time video preview. If I hit start, it says starting video preview. And it does show the screen, the desktop of this. Again, I don't know why. The Nano KVM will do that, but you have to install a driver. Once again, this is supposed to be in another room. So I can't understand why you would need that. and who would use it. But if you look closely, and again, I can zoom in only so far, there's little boxes down here. And one says the status of the USB and the status of the HD in. There's also a status of HD out and the status of USB. That's what these are for. So any unit with a screen does that. Every single one with a screen does that. And then the software itself, when you log into any software from any of these KVMs, they will always tell you the status on the software itself of the HDMI and USB, because that's going to help you if you're diagnosing something remotely and you can't see that screen. Is it getting HDMI signal? And you'll see that on the screen. When your desktop doesn't come up, this still comes up, because this is ultimately what you're connecting to. This is a computer, and it'll say that the signals coming in here, obviously it would have power or you wouldn't be able to connect to it. So when I'm only using one cable, that makes the diagnostic a lot easier, because there would never be an instance where I could log into that where it'd say USB is not connected, right? But with this one, it's possible power's connected, but the USB to the computer isn't. So then having the indication of knowing whether or not USB is connected would be required. It's more complex than it needs to be. There are scenarios where separate power is needed under certain configuration and use case scenarios, but it's not universally required, and I don't need it, and I don't want to be forced to use it if I haven't been clear on that enough. Andy says, sorry, I thought it was obvious. Well, clearly it wasn't. He goes, because the Comet folks were so inept as to have such a thing. Okay, but that's why it's not a joke. Because they really did it. Like, you understand the process of design, approval, manufacturing, testing, marketing, and then selling? You have any idea how many people are involved in that joke? It's clearly not a joke to them. So for you to say, well, I just assumed it was a joke, it's a real product. You can go buy it. It's not a joke. They're taking it very seriously. So it's not obvious. If it was an April Fool's joke, you know, I'd be behind you. I'd get it. But a little smiley face or a JK would have cleared that up. Anytime in the future you want to be funny, please always add that so we don't have any misunderstanding. At least when I do it, I can give you a wink. You can hear my tone. I don't get that unless you manually represent it in a text. Martin Gerardson wants to know, is the ATX form factor obsolete when compared with an NVIDIA AI server? It depends on what you need it for, right? So in some instances, depending on what you use a computer for, the answer is yes. And sometimes the answer is no. There is not a universal, right? Depending on how you use a computer, what your budget is, what you use it for, whether you're using it for work or for play. I mean, there's just too many variables there. So yes and no, depending on the scenario. All good, Andy. I know you meant well, my friend. I'm just want you to understand. Again, I like GLiNet's routers. I think they're fantastic. The little portable routers are fantastic. And I want to see more KVMs. I want to encourage innovation, but that's not what this is. This is innovation. And I don't think there's a software update in the world that's going to make that any better. Make it smaller, make it cheaper, make the 5-volt additional power optional like all of your competitors, every single competitor they have. GLiNet's rewriting the rules for themselves, and they're charging more for it, and they're late to the game. Man, this game started. I don't know where they've been, but the game already started. You should have been here on time, and you should have been prepared to play the game the same as your competitors if you want a chance at winning. Otherwise, why bother playing? If you're not going to win it, and you know that right at the gate, why even bother? Just forfeit the game and walk away. Pick a lane. If you're going to do it, make it worth the price, make it worth the wait. Be better than your competitors. Be better on price, be better on features, but they're charging us more. The product's arriving later. No memory expansion, required fourth cable. If I mentioned that it requires the fourth cable, the one Carey is partial to is the Jet KVM. Maybe. So when I am hooking up a computer here on the bench, so I can go upstairs and work on it and do all the updates and everything that takes hours, I can be on my laptop and I just open a browser. Because the computers get sold to customers, I don't want any remote software. I don't want any logins, anything like that. That's profoundly unprofessional. I would never do that. And so any of these KVM devices allow me to very easily plug in, no software requirement. And because I'm on a local area network, I will often pick the Jet KVM for that scenario because it doesn't require me to have a password. Nano KVM, GLiNet, everybody else wants that password. And I've told the people at SciPede, you should make the password optional. Oh no, this is remote access, it's really important, it's secure. I go, the LAN, it's on a LAN. You'd have to be in my house, you understand? It's on a non-routable IP address. It is not possible for you to get into the machine when it's on the local area network and not configured for internet access. So your competitor lets me choose no password. Why don't you? Now, if I'm configuring it for remote access over the internet, then absolutely, password is absolutely required. But how many passwords do we need? So for example, if I need a password to log into the unit, and I need a password to log into the cloud, and then when I log into the unit, I've got a password that comes up on the desktop that won't even give me access to it unless I enter the passwords. That's 3 passwords. This is ridiculous. And I've told the people at SciPede, as much as I like their unit, this could be better if you just, look, if people don't want to use the password, who are you to tell them? Too bad. You have to, because it's for your own good. I completely disagree that you treat people like they're that stupid. In the meantime, Jet KVM says, do you want to create a password or not? This is local, it doesn't really matter. It may not matter. I think that's more respectful. So when I log into the Jet KVM locally, it pops right up, no password delay, nothing. I don't have to, what's my password or use RoboForm, none of that. When GLiNet says you have to have a password, but then they'll turn around and let me use the word password, what was the point of requiring the password if you're not going to enforce any sort of password rules? If you think I'm too stupid to know whether or not I need a password on my local area secured network, that you're going to force me to create one, but yet you think I'm smart enough to create a safe, secure password? Pick a lane, just make a decision. When it comes to remote access to Studio A, I use the Jet KVM there. Why? Because they have their own cloud, just like GLiNet. But unlike GLiNet, I only need I need the Ethernet cable. I need 3 cables, USB, HDMI, and an Ethernet cable. And it just so happens I have a switch right next to the Studio A computer, a network switch. So I just get a little patch cable, plug it in. If that was a problem, I'd go Wi-Fi. Could I use the Nano KVM or the Nano KVM Pro? I could, absolutely, but I don't want to rely on Wi-Fi. It's too important of a connection. I'd feel better with a secured wired connection. And I don't like how warm this runs. That Jet KVM over in Studio A has been plugged in for over a month. Runs great. I never use the Comet, and I probably will never use this. It's just too complicated for my needs. Whether my needs are to connect remotely to Studio A or my needs are to connect locally just for updates, I need simple, fast, and small. Like, let's take a look at a Jet KVM. Here's a Jet KVM. This has no video pass-through. Good, because I don't need it. This has no Wi-Fi. Good, because I don't need it. This doesn't do 4K. Good, I don't need 4K. If I had 4K, I'd be reducing it down to 1080 so I could see it. This doesn't have a 1 gig Ethernet connection. Good, because it wouldn't use more than about 20 or 30 megabits to begin with. 100 megabits, more than enough. So why am I paying extra for all that? This still has a screen. This has a screen. This has a screen. Look how tiny this is. Look at the size difference. Let's take these cables out of here. Hold on a minute. Let me show you something. Let's unplug these cables. I just want to demonstrate and make a point. If I needed additional power, then I would plug this in. If I needed it, which I never do, but you might, I don't need it. But if I did, you plug your power in there and you plug your computer into this one. I don't need a bunch of ports on the back like they've done it here. This is not innovation. Okay, let's take the same cables out of the back of this unit. I'll take, here's the other problem. These two cables may be different. If this is just a power cable and you are an average user and don't realize these are potentially different cables, this will not transmit data. This will only, more than likely, if we test this cable, this is more than likely only got enough wires in it for power, whereas this one has enough wires in it for power and data both. Let me show you. If we take the same cable that they're using that's included with this unit and we plug it in here, will this turn on? No, this is this is strictly voltage. I think I got them backwards. See, even I confused it. Let me grab the other one. Let's plug it in. Will this turn on with one cable? It does. Okay, so if I take the video and I plug it in, this one, the downside is it requires a mini HDMI instead of a full size, so that's not going to work. However, this does include the cable you need. So I can't just move the cables in my demonstration. I didn't think that one through. But you notice how one cable allowed this to power up and the other one didn't, but they both look alike? That's going to be a nightmare for tech support if you sell this to regular folks. So let's plug in our HDMI. Let's plug in the network. So it's a total of 3 cables. 1, 2, 3, right? And then let's go ahead and plug the HDMI into the mini computer. And now instead of going to GLnet.local, we'll go to jetkvm.local. So let's open up the browser. Get the browser opened over here. And you'll see it says, oh, GLiNet's been disconnected. Gee, I wonder why. All right, let's go jetkvm.local. Does it ask me for a password? I got to type it right. jetkvm.local. Does it ask me for a password? No. Could I set it up to ask me for a password? Yes. In other words, it accommodates my needs. It doesn't force me to share the same needs someone else has that don't apply to me. This is more thoughtful. Do I want to know the status of my USB? Right here, it says USB is connected. Is the JetKVM online? It says it's online. If I go to app.jetkvm.com, then much like GLiNet, it'll take you to their cloud service, which is independent and you don't have to set up Tailscale. And when I log into my JetKVM account, I can see every JetKVM I have that I've bonded to my account. So this is Studio A. When I click on it, it's connecting me over the internet. That does require a password, but it's been saved in the system. And it says there's no HDMI. Well, the reason there's no HDMI is that computer is asleep right now. The monitor is. So if I push the enter button, that should wake it up. And there's my desktop. And my desktop requires a password. How many passwords do you need to have? Now, the mouse is a little bit slower to respond, but it's damn fast. I don't care who you are. That's still damn fast. Now, with all that in mind, this is what I'm gauging my comparisons with when I'm looking at this unit. This one is under $100. I think it's $103 on Amazon and available now. This is $159 and won't ship till next month. This, they've redesigned it so it's temporarily off the market. They've redesigned the front face and the rear back, and there'll be a matte black rotary dial. That's how you can tell. When that manufacturing process is completed and they start distributing, they'll be back on sale again. But it still uses the same developed software. Everything internally is the same. So, you know, we have all the evolution of the advancement and evolution of the software that makes this so much better than it was a couple months ago. So by comparison now, that's 3 cables. 1, 2, 3. All right. Let's disconnect this. And I don't want to mix up all my cabling. So we know this HDMI cable stays with the Jet KVM, and this USB cable, I try to keep it all together because sometimes these USB cables are only charging cables, as I just demonstrated. And if they look the same, you plug it in, you're like, I can't move the keyboard or mouse. That's because you just plugged in a power cable. How can you tell? Well, good luck with that. And then the splitter, which I never use. Okay, so let's say I want to connect quickly. I'm done messing around. I just want to get something done. I have work to do. I don't have time to just fuss around. So I'll take the HDMI cable, and again, I'll just use any HDMI cable, and I'm plug it in. I don't even read these. I just know I go to the far edge. It's not like this one where you go to the middle and then the edge. This one, edge to edge. So that cable there, and this cable here. That should light up. Connect on Wi-Fi with 2 cables. And I have the same access, but now I'll go to nanokvm.local. And you can change those names. That's just how I keep it all organized, because otherwise how would I remember? So I'll go back over to my window capture. And up here I'll type in nanokvm.local. Start it up. This will require a name and a password. I wish I could turn that off. I've told them I want it off, but you know, I don't care what I want. And I have to plug the HDMI cable. So my mistake, hold on a minute. When I plugged in here, remember I disconnected to get to the mini HDMI. So the other end of this cable wasn't plugged in anymore. Once I plug that in, then that signal goes through there. Remember, I'm connecting to this. So now it connects me. Again, I can go full screen. Again, I can see the status of, see, it's under settings. It should tell us the status of the HDMI. I thought they all had it up here somewhere. Is it here? No, that's Wake on LAN, right? Maybe they don't. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. Thought for sure it gave us USB and HDMI status the way everybody else did. Guess not. The other thing that Nano KVM offers on the Pro version is 2 different operating systems. So you have Nano KVM SciPedes operating system, where we can switch that over and go to the original Pi KVM that everything, you know, it's kind of the Mac Daddy or the original that everybody's sort of trying to emulate or even improve on. It's not the most user-friendly. I'm trying to remember. Here it is, switch to Pi KVM. If I hit switch to Pi KVM and confirm, the entire operating system, this is like dual booting Windows and Linux or something. It boots to an entirely different remote operating system. which you might prefer if you're a more technical person, or if you're like me, you despise it and will never use it, because this goes back to when things weren't as good as they are today, right? That this is the original, the Pi KVM. What we're looking at is the enhanced, upgraded, reimagined Pi KVM that Nano SciPete has created for the Nano KVM and the GitHub community. It's all open source. So the Pi KVM is a much more complex beast because there was nothing to compare it to back then. And they said, we can find a way to simplify this. And then they have users that go, I don't like the simplified, I like the complicated. And so the people at SciPete said, we'll give you both. So the device is rebooting. It'll probably refresh, but I'm going to refresh it myself. And it wants a username. Nano, geez, I can't remember what it is now. Guest? I can't remember. Admin or something. I couldn't remember even how to change this password in here. It's very complex. Somewhere in here, there's a way to change the password. It probably tells you how to do it in terminal with Linux commands. This is just way more complicated. If you want to just get on the KVM side of things, just click the KVM button, and you'll see it's pretty much the same thing, right? And this does tell you the status of the mouse and the keyboard and the, you know, if there's an ATX control board on it. It's all laid out a little differently, and it's a lot more complex. You can see that mouse response is very quick. And look, some people like black licorice. I'm not one of them, okay? This to me is black licorice. You might love it. I say you can have mine, and if I'm not there, you start without me. So this is a feature of the Nano KVM Pro that is not required for you to use. Comet. See, they're giving their user choices depending on the user needs, not on you predicting and requiring the user accommodate you at the highest possible price and waiting forever for your product to come out. Let's go back to the regular, how do I do that? Switch to Nano KVM, switch now. This will reboot it again and then relaunch us back into the operating system that SciPete has created. So you have a choice. It's a choice. Hold the pickles, hold the lettuce, special orders won't upset us. Have it your way. Whatever happened to that? Comet, GLiNet, why do we got to have it your way? I want it my way. I'm paying for it. You didn't give it to me for free. This is an example of giving user choice. Now it's rebooted and we're relogged in on the Nano KVM software. And again, look how fast the mouse response is on this. For less money, smaller product. And I want to reiterate, if I haven't done it enough times, this is all happening on 2 cables. I would drop this like a mic drop, but I respect it too much. And yeah, this does get warm. So get over it. It's not hurting anything. I was looking forward to making this video because I was hoping to be made a fool of. I was hoping GLiNet was going to go, no, Carey, everything you thought is wrong. Don't you feel like a moron? And I would have said, yes, I apologize that I thought so poorly of your, what this was going to be. You really impressed me, and I'm glad to be wrong. But that's not what happened, clearly. This is exactly what I was afraid of, and it has exceeded my disappointment that I was already ready for. I felt if I'm prepared for the hit, it won't hurt as much. You know what? It still stings. It hit me a little harder than I thought they would, with the size, limitations, price, delays. Well, they didn't really delay it. They did ship it when they said they were going to, but I already had this how long? For less money? So, depending on my mood, I might pull this out and then go upstairs and do the work. Or I might just pull this one out. Either way. I have solutions. The Pico KVM, I was using that one every day for a while. No reason that I'd necessarily stopped. It's the same software that the Jet KVM uses because it's all the GPL open license. So they're not ripping anybody off. It's all with permission. It's all open source. And if you're used to the Jet KVM software and you want a cheaper unit, the Pico KVM is cheaper, smaller, and a little bit faster. Different design. It's square, and it's about $20 less money, but it doesn't include any of the cables. So they're about interchangeable, the Pico KVM and the Jet KVM. Jet KVM software has the cloud service. Pico does not. So you'll have to set it up with Tailscale or Zero Tier or something. The Jet KVM includes the cables. The Pico does not. The Jet KVM software is better polished. Pico KVM, they're working on it, but you know, the updates on a Pico KVM are a lot more technical to apply. As of right now in December of 2025, they should eventually get to an update button like everybody else. They're just not there yet. It's an early product. It just came out. But the interface is exactly the same between the Jet KVM and the Pico KVM. When I log into it, I can't tell them apart except where the logo is. Also, and there's no update button on a Pico KVM. So you have to update it by hand, which sucks. But I'll tell you the other thing that sucks. We've already had 3 updates to this month and 5 updates to this last month. The Pico KVM had an update on November 19th and it hasn't been updated since. I'd like to see the updates come out more frequently, and I want to see that when the updates come up soon that there'll be an internal update button like everybody else has, so I don't have to manually flash it with the latest software, because that's fine when a product first comes out and it's early, but it's been enough time now. They should have had that figured out. It doesn't look like we're going to see an update from them this month, if I had to guess. So you are going to pay less for it. You're basically getting the same performance with software that's not as polished with an update process that doesn't work. You have to do it all by hand, and there's no cables included. So the Jet KVM is probably the better deal. I don't know. It's really hard to say. This one's a little bit more, this is a little easier for me to just absolutely slam on for all the reasons that I've given. Let me get back over to the chat room real quick and we'll see if we can't wrap things up today. If you have any questions about the KVMs or concerns, I'm happy to address them for you right now while we're sort of looking to wrap things up here. I want to start putting some things back because I'm going to confuse myself over what went where. I remember that this and this are the original cables that came with the GLI, and that these cables were the ones I had on here originally. It's not that they're really any different. It's just my OCD. I like to keep everything to have its own dedicated cables. I don't want to move the cables around, but you can. I mean, a USB cable is a USB cable. I just don't want to confuse a data sync cable with a just a power cable. The thing you use to charge your phone could be a data sync cable, or it could just be a charging cable. One of the biggest complaints and misunderstandings the end user has is they say, I plugged this in and my mouse won't move. That's because you plugged in a power cable. Or on this one here, they plugged the USB cable in the middle one instead of on the far right. So this turns on and they can connect to it, but they can't control the keyboard and mouse because they never plugged it in. That's end user education issues. And with the cables, it's not like you can just look at the cable and tell which kind of cable it is. There are cable testers you can buy, but they cost a lot more than a new cable. So, you know, you can get a piece of tape, like some kind of a label, and write down if it's just a charging cable. If I was in an airport and I wanted to plug my phone in and charge it, I would not use a data sync cable on a public charger because they could infect your phone. But if you're just using a power cable, it's just power. No data can go either way. So there are advantages to just having the power cables. Mostly they're less expensive. You can usually tell a data sync cable from a power cable by the price, but not by how it looks. You can't tell by looking at them. All right, welcome to the world of USB-C. When you get into a Thunderbolt cable, those can cost $80 a cable. You definitely know that's not a regular USB-C cable, not by looking at it, although it will have like a lightning bolt on it if it's Thunderbolt, but simply by the cost. Why is this USB-C cable $3 and this USB-C cable is $80? Because that USB-C cable is only a charger and it has 2 or 3 wires in it. And this USB-C cable, not this one exactly, but in this example, would have maybe 40 or 50 wires in it. I don't know, some ridiculous number of wires. It's very complex. It's very difficult to put together. It's expensive to make it, and it can transmit up to 80 gigabits of data per second on it. That's why it's not cheap. So price is your first indicator if you're worried about it. Cheaper probably means it's just a charging cable. If I were on Amazon looking to buy a cable, let me show you. Let me go over to Amazon, because you may have never noticed this before. And this is very critical. If you want to be able to use one cable with a Jet KVM, you better make sure you've got, well, the cable that came with it, or if you're replacing it, you're getting a data sync cable. If it doesn't say it's a data sync cable, then it's not a data sync cable. It has to say it is. Don't make any assumptions. Let me jump over to Amazon and I'll show you. If we want a USB A to C cable, we're going to get all kinds of cables. $4.50 says it's fast charging. That means that cable can withstand 65 watts, 45 watts of power. Some cheaper cables can't carry that much power through them, so fast charging won't work on your phone. So even amongst charging cables, there's different kinds of cables. This says it's a braided sleeve, fast charging, and it doesn't say anything about a data sync cable, and it says you're going to get a 6-foot cable for $9.99. Seems a little pricey. It shows like 5 cables. Maybe you're getting 5 of them for that price. Scroll down. This says it's for a phone. So does that mean it's a charging cable or a data sync cable? A data sync cable does charging, but a charging cable does not automatically do data syncing. So what does this mean? If it doesn't say it's a data sync cable, I would assume it doesn't do any data sync cables. So if I want to limit my search, I'll just say data, enter. Now the cables it's going to show me should say what speed of data, 10 gigs per second. Ah, well, this indicates this transmits data and it supports fast charging, and it's not that much more money. And if we're looking for a USB-C cable that supports Thunderbolt 4, look at the price difference. Those are actually pretty cheap. Let me show you something. Let's do sort by highest price just to look and see how expensive. $199. Now you might look at that and go, well, it looks just like any other USB-C. Oh, no, it doesn't. This has got fiber in it. This doesn't have wires. This has a fiber cable. That's 26 feet long, which is an incredible distance to run that 40 gigabit per second speed through. So it's got to be optical. Here's an Apple Thunderbird 4K. It's $159. But it looks like a USB-C cable. Could you use it to charge your phone? Yeah. Could you use it to power your KVM? Yeah. These are not the same cables. And your first indication is the price. Everybody here know this already? Am I preaching to the choir, or is this news to any of you? You know, we got Christmas coming up. I don't want anybody to be disappointed. All right. I don't see any other questions here. So I guess I have exhausted this subject with you guys watching right now. But if you've missed the live video or a question occurs to you, please leave it in the comments below. Or of course, you can reach out to us at our email address, which I'm going to throw here on the screen, showcasecreate@gmail.com. We also have our forums, CareyHolzman.boards.net. They're public forums you can post on anytime. There's no cost. There's no cost to email us. And then, of course, if you want to leave a comment under the video, feel free to do so. I hope you hit the like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, or this style of content of interaction, not just a television of a talking head where you just sit and listen and you don't get to talk. I want you to be able to talk. Not too many content creators want to hear back from their audience. They'll say leave a comment, but they'll never respond, and they don't. I want to hear back from you. I want this to be an interaction. Otherwise, you could just go watch TV. Some of you are watching this on TV. But we love to have you in the chat room and communicate with us. Jose Lopez with a $1 super chat in there. Thank you, Jose. Some of you were talking about building a computer. You probably couldn't have picked a worse time to build a computer. Right now, with the price of RAM going up, GPU shortages going up, and CPU prices are going up, and storage prices are going up. I suppose now is a better time than 6 months from now, but 4 months ago would have been a better time. There's a new case from Silverstone that's the vertical tower version of a 90s case, but takes normal standard parts here today. And I thought about getting one to do a build on the channel, but we can't afford it. I mean, it's not that the case is expensive. It's that we have to buy a motherboard, a chip, cooler, RAM, storage, power supply, and it's going to cost somewhere around $1,000 on average, $800 to $1,000. And the videos are now earning, that might make me $100. So it'll be a $900 cost for me to make that video that I'll never recover from. I still would like to get my hands on the Silverstone case. I'll show you what it looks like, just because it's fun. Let's see if I go to Amazon, if it's up here. I'll just type in Silverstone Retro. So we already did the FLP01. That's the horizontal case from Silverstone. I've got it sitting right over here. Again, it's one of those projects that cost me 5 times more than the video made. And I love it personally, but nobody wants it. They go, hey, that's really cool. You want to buy it? No. That's all right. I like it. But see, this is the FLP01. And we do have that video, if you missed it, to go back and watch it. But it's a modern case designed to look like a 90s case. So now there's the FLP02, which is the tower version, which appears to not be on Amazon. Let's just do a search up here. FLP02 Silverstone should pull it up. There it is. And it can be purchased. I don't think Silverstone has an online store, but you can purchase it through one of their retailers. I think Newegg has it. And it's an old school looking tower case that accepts all modern parts, GPUs, etc. It's not that expensive, honestly. It's definitely for those of us that are a bit older and nostalgic. And I was like, gosh, I'd kind of like to have to build in, but it's just a terrible time to be buying parts. Even on YouTube, it's a terrible time to be making videos. YouTube's never paid me less than they are today. And before AdSense, when they weren't paying anything at all, but then I was making 2 videos a year. Because they were paying me, the number of videos went up. The more videos I put up, the more I got paid. Now the more videos I put up, the less I get paid. Like if I made $100 on one video and then I post another video, that one may only make $50. And the more frequently I post, each video makes less. I don't know why this is, but if I delay the videos and do one video a week, then they can consistently do about $100 in revenue a month. But you know, that's not getting a house payment made, and it's not going to pay for a computer. That's the only reason why I don't have this case. And that's the only reason why I wouldn't make the video. And remember, when it's all said and done, it's just going to sit here and collect dust. But for those of you that still have the means that you want to build a computer today, this is an option to consider if you're like me and you think that'd be kind of cool. Just an FYI to consider. Jim Kenny wants to know if I will be back on Friday. Yes, we are planning to have a show Friday, December 26th. And I have a special, pretty nice mini PC from Minis Forum I want to show you. I'm really excited to look at it. So I hope you'll join me then. I don't have any show scheduled for Christmas Eve or Christmas. That's tomorrow and Thursday. So I hope you all have a safe, happy holiday and enjoy your families, or if you don't celebrate the holiday and maybe you live alone, enjoy the peace and quiet. I hope everybody's feeling good. And we thank you all for joining us in our content in our chat room, especially our members that make these videos possible. And yeah, Boxing Day or December 26th, Friday, we will be back with a brand new Minis Forum review. And I'm very much looking forward to this one. This one, I mean, I say that a lot with Minis Forum, but here we go again. Something completely innovative, different, reimagined, that no other competitor has. No other competitor has it. Let me get this clear. I feel like I'm not being clear enough. Wayne Ellison says, great show, Carey and Mara. Yeah, thank you, of course, to Mara. She does our thumbnails, our video descriptions. She works with potential, what could be a sponsorship. Doesn't really happen, but it could happen. She works with companies that want to send us products for review, most of which we decline because we're not interested in their robot vacuum cleaners and socks. But she deals with a flood of that every day. I will say that has slowed down this time of year, and she's pretty happy about that. Of course, we enjoy hearing from you guys, of course, so if you want to email us, again, the email address here, I'll put on the screen one more time. Feel free to reach out to us. We hope you'll come back and join us Friday at the usual start time. That's 1 p.m. Phoenix time. That's currently 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And if you're catching my videos for the first time, I hope you'll join us in the live interaction during the live content so we can talk to each other. Thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you to Mark Gaines, our friend Buster, for the Amazon gift cards. Thank you guys for the super chats today from Jose Lopez, from Gulu8899, and welcome back to membership, Hobo Nalor. Not quite sure how to say that name, but we appreciate all your support because you are our sponsors here. Your contributions and support of this channel are what paid for this. I guarantee you Comet didn't send this to us. When Comet was sending units out to review, and all these other content creators got them, why do you think we didn't get it? Some things I guess we're just never going to know. That's going to wrap it up for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great, safe, happy holiday. We'll look forward to seeing you the day after. And until then, bye for now.